Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I could not believe my eyes and ears when I saw what I've been wanting for such a long time happen. Gibson reissued the chainsaw case, aka the Gibson Protector, and they released it in a Les Paul and an SG format. Now, for some of you, this means absolutely nothing. You're like, okay, they just released some case. But these were the best darn cases that Gibson has ever made, the original Gen 1 and Gen 2s. So before we unbox both of these to check them out, because I just had to check both of them, I thought we would just take a quick look at the original right here. So this is a Generation 2 chainsaw case. Generation 1 and 2 looks exactly the same. The only difference is the first generation didn't have this back latch.
Some of the early versions also had alternate foam padding, but that's the biggest difference to know.
This is made of a material called Azdel. It doesn't flex too much. I mean, there's still some flexing. And you also have to remember, this case is from the late 70s, so it's aged. But my favorite thing about these things were these little plastic latches. Now, the bad thing is sometimes these can break off, but as long as you use them properly and take care of them, normally you're okay. I've never personally broke one, but I find so many cases that have had broken ones. But the other thing I've always loved about these is the handle is completely built into the case, so there's no chance of it just breaking apart like you can find on the regular Gibson ones. And on top of that, it's padded. This is like a foam material, but once this material starts to wear, if you have really sweaty hands, unfortunately, then you will be left with just like a bare metal wire in there. Usually whenever that starts to happen, I just wrap it in electrical tape and it's good enough. But initially, they had a lid ribbon right here, and this is what the perfect case, in my opinion, looks like. Double neck rest, ample room in here. But then, Generation 3 came along, and they came out with this. People get confused all the time of the chainsaw case love, as it's for this generation. This is the Gen 3. They're good cases. They're not my favorite. Like, I wouldn't personally buy one of these for my guitar unless it was era correct. I would use the money to get one of these things. But the best thing about this generation is if you hate the plastic latches, they introduced the metal ones. You still have a built-in handle. I mean, these are great cases, don't get me wrong. They're just not as good as that. This is like almost twice the size. They're big and clunky, great to ship with, and they get this Gibson badge. Now, it's very common for these badges to come off. They're just hard to leave and glued on there. And you can find a multitude of different colors on here. Some of them had the lid ribbon as well. There's a brown, there's a blue. Later on in Gen 4, we'll talk about that in a minute, they swapped it over to a black one. But these are nice. They're padded. They're not bad cases, they're just clunky. They're not my favorite. They still have a little bit of a compartment here, not as big as 1 and 2. But unfortunately, even these latches are prone to breaking off if you're not too careful with them. So I've been saying it for years on this channel. If Gibson doesn't reissue the chainsaw case, I will. But I thought I would do a brief little history lesson here for those of you that aren't understanding. So chainsaw cases first came out around late 77, 78. And then in 1980, they switched over to this style. And they lasted about 6 years in that style. And then they were just kind of phased out by 88. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to check out a long overdue reissue, and we will start with this. So if you want to purchase one of these, you can find it at Sweetwater. You can use my affiliate link if you want one of these. You can also get it on the Gibson website. I mean, pretty much anywhere where Gibson cases are sold, but they are $250, which, you know, it's really not that bad for a hard shell case. I think the regular Gibson one is $200. And they're advertising this as like a flight case here, so we'll have to see how they did and compare it side by side with the other chainsaw cases. All I know is I'm really excited to check this thing out. Okay, that's looking kind of similar to Gen 3 here. Uh-oh, we got TSA latches. I love those things. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the reissued Protector case. Now, so far, I think it's abundantly clear here that they were trying to reissue Gen 3 because of its bulkiness and ability to protect a guitar, probably because they couldn't reissue Azdel. Now, if they would have reissued that, I would have lost my mind. Like, we'd have a whole week dedicated to uploads just about that case. But okay, Gen 3, let's give it a fair shot here. I've always been a huge fan of these TSA latches. I love the way they feel because they just have a little button under here and then it just kind of pops up like that. They're easy to use. I haven't broken one. That doesn't mean you can't break it. But it looks like we have 4 of those instead of the vintage one having the 3 metal ones. So first off, better case right here. Also, it has a locking one, so if you need to check this into baggage, you can. The handle kind of reminds me of just a modern style case, to be honest. It's not built in like those, so in that aspect, I think that is better in my opinion anyways. But it's not a cheap handle by any means. I don't think you're gonna have any worries about that. I do see we have some bumpers down here, which I mean the original kind of had. They just they weren't very big. So I think that's a win in that book. It looks like you also have a couple of bumpers built in right here. Now this looks like the kind, if this got hit really hard, it could potentially crack the outside. So I guess keep that in mind. It's the same material as the outside is the way that I'm feeling that. But let's go ahead and pop this puppy open and see what we think about the interior. Okay, so they went for that vintage chainsaw case blue. I mean, that's one of the most iconic colors for these, so I like that choice. I hope in the future they also offer you a brown one, because blue and brown, those are the big ones for the Gen 3s. I like that we have a double lid ribbon here, and it's actually, you know, a halfway decent ribbon. It doesn't seem like it's gonna break. You also got some there to also protect your hinges from being worn out. Oh, that's nice. I wasn't expecting that. That's such a nice throwback. I love it. Okay, so I didn't point this out on the other one. So right here it says Gibson on the flap, but it was on the outside. But this time they decided to, instead of recessing it down a little bit, they just kind of let it be. But when you flip it open, you see the Gibson. That's a nice throwback here. And as far as the compartment, it looks like it's a little bit smaller on the reissues, and you know, that's coming from a Gen 3. Gen 2 had so much more space. So I guess keep that in mind. We'll grab all these dimensions a little bit later. And unfortunately, these are made in China, so that might turn some people off. So as far as the interior, it's, you know, very similar to what you would find on a regular case. Like, basically all this entire thing is the same style of cases that they make for Schecter guitars, except for it's been shrunken down to look like a chainsaw case. So it's definitely not the same material, but it does have kind of like the similar vibe to it. Like, it does some flexing, but you can tell it would protect the guitar, especially in the headstock area. So that's looking okay here. And something else I forgot to mention on the outside is it says, you know, Gibson right here, kind of as a throwback to the Gen 3 chainsaws. They didn't go as far as putting a badge on it, probably because they didn't want them to keep falling off. So they probably could have made that cooler if they would have like put some white paint in there to make it stand out, you know, similar to the metallic shininess of Gen 3 right here. But enough blabbering. You're either here because you love the original chainsaw cases, or you want to know, is this worth paying $50 more to get a deluxe case? So I've got a couple of guitars over here. We can do a test fit. This is similar to what you would find today, but not exactly. It's a Canadian-made Gibson USA case. But inside here sleeps a mid-2000s Les Paul Standard. We've seen this a few times on the show. It is an absolutely gorgeous guitar. I mean, you've got the flame maple on the top, right? But then you flip it over to the back and you also have the quilty back. Yeah, this thing is a keeper, right? So let's test our fit here. Oh, wow. Yep, buy these things. I'm impressed. That is snug. Like, I'm trying to move it and it only goes a little bit. Even side to side, perfect. Thank you, Gibson. Yes, buy these things. They're worth the money. They're worth it. You've heard it here first, folks. I was a little bit skeptical when I knew this was a Gen 3 reissue because it's not my favorite one, but now that I know the fit and the form and everything in here, I mean, look at how much area you have on all sides. That's really protective as well. They should really just switch all their cases to these and just mark up the price of the guitars a little bit. I would have liked to have seen a second neck rest, but it seems like they have so much area right here that this is kind of acting as a second one at the heel. I'm not 100% sure on that. I am not by any means an expert in creating cases. I just know what I like when I see it. So this feels secure. The headstock is not touching. I'd say have about maybe a finger and a half between there. So I think if I was still shipping this, I would bump it up just a little bit. So maybe if this particular neck rest could be just a tad higher, that'd make me happier. But now we'll see how it closes. Like, does it slide around on the inside once it's closed? Because some cases are like that. No, I'd say everything's secure here. I don't feel anything doing anything it shouldn't. But you're probably curious about the weight. It is chunky, but the guitar I have in here is kind of heavy. Let's go ahead and weigh it without a guitar in it. It weighs almost 11 pounds. I got 10 pounds, 11 ounces. That's almost 5 kilograms right there. I think a regular Gibson case is what, about 7 or 8? Like this is an older one, so it's not a fair comparison. This one is 8 pounds, 12 ounces. So it is about 2 to 3 pounds heavier than the regular Gibson case. I mean, it is quite a unit, but it's so comfortable with this handle. I do like it. It's not padded per se, but then again, the Gen 3s never were. It's got a little bit of like a very tough, rigid foam feel right there. So yeah, so far, $250. I'm happy with that. But I've been having a lot of people ask me about this one, the SG version, because there haven't been very many aftermarket SG cases that fit well. So I'm kind of hoping that this will end up working for a lot of people. But it looks like Gibson might need to make some new boxes for these. I noticed that on the last one, but it's very apparent on this. These cases just hardly fit in here. So maybe we will see Gibson put these on a guitar once they get some better fitting boxes, because that's really pushing it. Usually they have like padding on here or some sort of a stopper, but they don't. I've got to say though, this is about the worst thing about the new series, is that you can't fit a Les Paul and an SG in the same style case. Because that used to be a possibility with Gen 3 as well as Gen 1. But we'll test that out here in a minute. So this one, it doesn't appear that there's any obvious differences from the outside. This is the Les Paul version. This is the SG version. That looks the exact same from the outside. So tough news for you if you're a thief that seeks out only Les Pauls and hates SGs. You won't be able to tell. Oh, wouldn't that be cool if they gave this one brown interior? But no, they did blue. Okay, so basically the only thing that's different between these is the foam that they actually put on the inside. SGs are notoriously weak at the heel, and the way I feel this is it's kind of sloped upwards right here to give more support to the heel and the body right here, but then it sculpts away, you know, to kind of create a glove right here, as well as, you know, kind of a faux second neck rest. Yep, all of this is looking the same, made in China, Gibson on the inside. But unfortunately, I don't have very many SGs on hand, so this is the only one I have. I'm sorry, guys. It's just a small little measly... Whoa! Hendrix SG! Oh, man. These are kind of cool guitars. You can check out the full review and demo if you want. It really is the only SG I had, and what better way to say I have faith in these cases than... putting in a $10,000 custom shop and throwing it off my roof. Nah, just kidding. You can check out this video if you want to watch me throw things off of multiple story buildings, but for this one, we're just testing the fit. And so far, nice and tight here. The body does protrude up. It's kind of similar to what I was saying, how it does have a little bit of a sloped angle. So for this one, this area of the heel dipping down makes 0 sense, but maybe they were thinking of the vintage like late 60s heels that go like really big. They were probably thinking of those for people buying these aftermarket. Same thing on this one, about 1.5 to 2 fingers of width right there, but that again, nice and tight, man. I am happy with these. To me, it's all about this foam. I mean, that's like a good 1.5 inches or so, then way more right there. This video is not sponsored. I would tell you if there was something wrong, but I think Gibson has a hit on their hands simply because they said this is a chainsaw case reissue. And, you know, you could potentially say this is a Gen 5 case, I mean, it's technically Gen 6 though, because there was a very shortly lived acoustic case within the chainsaw case family. I don't know, do we call these Gen 5, Gen 6? Do we call them a reissue one? I think on a technical sense, this is a Gen 6 chainsaw case. Because Gen 4 chainsaw cases was when they took all the padding out of Gen 3. But anyways, the fit, I'm trying to move it, doesn't do anything. Left and right, perfect. Ooh, I'm actually really glad I have this SG with a Vibrola. Let's see if that'll fit. Sometimes that's a pain in the butt to find a case that'll fit nicely with a Bigsby. This is the moment of truth, because they've got a big old thing right here. I guess I should probably put my arm right there. Nice. Even if you have a Vibrola. I'm not sure about a Bigsby. Those seems to stick up a little bit more, but it seems likely that it would fit. I'm sorry, I do not have a Bigsby equipped Les Paul with me today, or an SG. But this one, I can hear the foam padding moving just a hair, like not enough that it's actually moving the guitar. Do I think they are just as good as the originals? No, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Gibson just killed the value of the old Gen 3s, because I literally see no reason to use these things anymore. Unless you're a gigging musician and you only want to have to own one case, because this still has the advantage of, hey, it's going to fit a Les Paul, and this is after 40 some years. It's still pretty darn secure, and you can just as easily swap it over into an SG. That's about the only thing the vintage ones have going for them, as well as color. And the foam, I like the foam better in these because it's soft and more plush. This feels like a nice carpet, like it's really nice, like you're petting a brown bear. This, it's not bad, but it has like a chalkboardy-esque feel to it, and this is complete rigid foam. Now, maybe it's better to have rigid foam versus soft foam. Again, I haven't done a whole lot of drop tests to be able to do that, to tell you. But short of that, yeah, I think, I'm sorry, Gen 3 case. I think we're all gonna start retiring you. So my ultimate opinion is, I will love these things till the day I die. The Gen 1s and 2s are the best case you can buy, but you know, maybe even the extra rigid foam. It would be between these things for me. Gen 3 is officially out the door. Now you might have noticed, I have one more guitar here with me today, and it's because I was curious, because something that's good about the original chainsaw case is the fact that they should be able to fit a double cut Les Paul. This might not be a double cut standard, it's actually a custom shop Les Paul DC Pro. These are really, really rare custom shop guitars with the snakehead headstock. I do have a review and demo of a humbuckered version, but this one is the ultra rare, desirable indigo finish with the P90 pickups and wrap tailpiece. But see, these things would indeed fit in a Gen 3. And I'm assuming a Gen 2 as well. So there you go. If you're looking for a case for your double cut, those can sometimes be hard to find. Will it fit in any of these? I mean, it's kind of SG shaped. Nope, not meant for a double cut. How about the Les Paul version? Whoa, nice. Okay, it does fit. I am surprised. It has a little bit of up and down movement, but that's still acceptable to me. So I think you'd be okay with that because the side to side is perfectly fine. That neck is actually really joisted up there, so it's looking good if you've got a double cut Les Paul. They will fit in these things as well. I am glad that I decided to do that test there. As far as measurements, from top to bottom, it's roughly 43.5. The widest part of the bottom, you're roughly 16.5. So that is 10 and just a hair more than 13 with a body length of about 18.5. Your storage compartment here, it's very tiny. It's a 7 by almost 5 with a depth of about 2.5 inches. So you can't fit much in there, but you know, it's better than nothing. And the top goes in about 1¼ inches on the top there, so that might help you with certain tremolos. But the case itself is about 5½ inches thick. That might help you make a decision on if this is right for you. But yes, I'm pumped up for these. They're great. Side-by-side comparison with the Gen 3, I would say the newer one is actually even bigger and clunkier than the old ones. It appears to be just have a little bit more depth, and it's a little bit longer as well. I mean, we're talking like maybe an inch. It's really not that noticeable. So if you love the Gen 3s, but you wanted them to be a little bit more protective and be a newer case, I think this is it. They might not be as scratch resistant because this doesn't quite have as deep of indents right here. I mean, you can definitely tell the difference between the materials used. But ultimately, I would say these are the better case now. So, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this kind of in-depth review here. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.